Yes.
That was my keep shaking my mic because I'm gossiping too much.
Yours is fine.
Mine is gossiping too much.
Testing.
So your family.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sawagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Happy New Year from Digitalk TV. We wish you a tremendous 2025. This is our first Monday for the year 2025, and of course, it's a privilege for us to be right here with you. As you well know, every Monday we have an insightful conversation on some of the things that are happening in Uganda. We point out some of the issues that we believe are not going on well in this country, but not just pointing them out, but also giving people clarity and also giving them information that can help them make informed decisions. At the end of the day, we hope that this country will be a better place for us first, but also for the generations that are yet to come. That's why the Hotline Show is always here every particular week on Monday, so that we can just paint a picture of how the country looks like, and of course try to find viable solutions to some of these particular issues. Before I welcome our guests for the evening, allow me to take you through some of the news stories that are going on in the country as we speak. Today, the lawyer and of course advocate with the High Court, Martha Karua, who is from Kenya, but also the former judicial minister or justice minister in that country, has finally been given a temporary practicing certificate in Uganda. Now, this particular certificate will help Martha Karua be able to litigate, the cases that were put on Dr. Kizza Besigye last year. Now, Martha Karua is going to be joining. In fact, she is the leader of the team of lawyers, over 40 lawyers that have been commissioned to help in defending Dr. Kizza Besigye. And still on that particular issue, Dr. Kizza Besigye will be returning to court. That is going to be tomorrow at exactly 9 a.m. at the Makindye Military Court Martial. Dr. Besigye is going to be appearing. Remember, Dr. Besigye was arrested, or one can call it abducted, from Kenyan capital Nairobi last year, and of course he was whisked and brought back to Uganda, where he was charged with a couple of cases, including possession of weapons, but also mobilizing for resources to distort government. So that is one of the issues that have been raised on Dr. Kizza Besigye's case. We shall be there tomorrow morning as Digitalk TV. We have been there for the previous engagements that have been in that particular court martial, but we shall be there yet again tomorrow, and we shall be telling you some of the things that are happening in that part of the country. Still in other news, the monkeypox cases of monkeypox are continuing to soar in Uganda. This particular health condition has been affecting a couple of people, especially in various rural parts of Uganda. But as we speak, monkeypox has actually been found or realized in Kampala. So the cases are continuing to soar. And in that regard, the Ministry of Health continues to caution members to avoid sharing sharp materials and of course sharing clothing or anything with someone that is infected with monkeypox. The doctors say that this will help in preventing this particular condition. And maybe lastly, the police of Uganda has warned against gangs that are continuing to steadily stem up in Uganda as we speak. Now, in the recent past, we have seen a lot of gangs affiliated to musicians cropping up in the country. Some of the cases of these gangs is the case of Patrick Mulwana, also known as Alien Skins Gang, that has been, affecting different individuals. You remember the case of Nsambia Hospital, where the gang terrorized some of the doctors and security personnel there. We also saw videos of the same gang, vandalizing property at the NUP offices. That was last year as well. In the wake of this particular New Year, we saw a gang of one Pius Mayanja, also known as Palazzo, cropping up and also doing a bit of disturbances in one of the biggest festivals that are hosted every 31st, that is the Nkuka in Lubiri. So these cases have prompted the police to come out with an order directing all musicians or artists to not travel with more than 5 people to any engagement, concert or venue that they are going to perform at. They believe that in doing this, many people will be protected from the gangs that have been affiliated with some of these artists. That and much more, you can follow us on our social media platforms. That is at Digitalk TV, but also at The Alternative Uganda. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, who is the host of the show this evening. Allow me to welcome our guests for the day. I'll start on my immediate right, a gentleman who's not new to this particular engagement. That is Charles Kazooba. Charles Kazooba is the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. You're most welcome, sir. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Karuhanga. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, sir.
And Digitalk team. Of course, even to our viewers, we should be very grateful to the Lord.
Yes, sir.
That we were able to make it through last year. I was very shocked. I lost my phone, so I got kind of offline, and I got to know of the sad news of the passing on of our colleague, Rizdel Kasasira, very senior journalist who used to work with the Daily Monitor. He was a friend, and our generation really. It was so sad that we lost him at the close of the year.
Yeah.
So when I see friends and relatives that have made it to this year, of course, we should be rejoicing. But it's not just moving on from one year to another that should excite us. Rather, what is very crucial is what is your contribution to the world in the past year. Not contribution to your own prosperity and enrichment, but what is your contribution to the world?
Exactly.
What was your contribution in the past 1 year? So that should be our guiding principle. That this is what I have done in addition to my own personal needs and my family's. Taking children to school is very important because you're contributing
to a better world.
Yes, to the better world. Not just buying a vehicle. There are things I don't really consider as very important.
Yes, sir.
This is an election year, of course. You know, whenever we are going to elections, a lot of nasty things happen. People die. Others are thrown into jail. So we have to be very careful how we conduct ourselves, especially the young people. The generation of Ochienos, that one can be excused. The Musevenis, yeah?
Museven is not my generation.
But one would
I
say
reject him with anything and everything comes.
if he's still alive, he is in that generation.
Because
No, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky, Mr. Museveni. You're not my generation. So.
the Musevenis are in the evening years. Those ones, we don't have to mind so much, but the young people in 20s, in 30s, in 40s, we have a huge task before us to make our country better.
All right.
Yes.
No problem. And that is Charles Kazooba, the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. Before I welcome the next guest, there is also some of the tweets. This story, I'm always talking about it from last year. It has even come to this year. The tweets of the CDF, who doubles as the son of the president, Mr. Moses Kainerugaba, are continuing to worry Ugandans. Recently, he made a tweet threatening to behead the president of the National Unity Platform, that is Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu. And I think he still sticks to that particular post even up to today as we speak. So that is something we also want to talk about, but we've been talking about this from the previous year, and it's still the same story, same phenomenon in the new year. Allow me to welcome another guest, that is Joseph Ochieno. He is a gentleman from the Uganda People's Congress, that is UPC. You're most welcome, sir. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Edgar.
Yes, sir.
You spoiled my introduction by bringing forward the treat, which I was hoping that I would forget, and forget so much that possibly I would not even raise it as an issue because it is vile. Interestingly, actually, had the owners of Twitter not been as crude as people related with Donald Trump. I know some strange things in Uganda. The Ugandans who think highly of these guys, Trump et al. For slightly different reasons. But I think I'm actually quite surprised that Twitter would entertain such a tweet. I'm genuinely quite shocked by that, the language, the content, the contexts, the personalities, the extensions to the Ilwelos. But in any case, the streets have gone to Kenya, and they've gone to Sudan, and they've gone to America, and they've gone to different kind of places. But that it is still happening worries me, because then I keep on wondering, are we a nation with a government at all, or are we Ugandans, citizens on our own? I have just been having a conversation. I had a lunch meeting with a decent friend who's fairly close to NRA, but a progressively young person in the generation below me, and extraordinarily concerned by the event. So it gives a cloudy clamor to the beginning of the year. That, as it happens, I feel generally very optimistic around my personal self at the beginning of the year, with the beginning of the year,
Yes, sir.
across is Christmas, minus all the other topics we're going to discuss. But then when you bring in this, you begin to wonder, where are we? Am I in some kind of denial, and where are we likely to be going on as a country? So that which is quite worrying. That said, I had a calm Christmas from about 1992. That's quite a long time. 92, 93, I think. 93 was when I stopped getting rushy over Christmas. I was then in exile in London. I was then already fairly lucky, busy senior local government officer, reasonably paid, but without forex and many of these things, and without contracts home. I had money that I would spend leading to Christmas, and I had emerged as the anchor to most refugee families around a kind of circles, UPC circles, and the number of children those days would say they don't open another present before they open the one from Uncle Pinyiteki. You know, the children have been influenced by beyond things, Pinyiteki kind of stuff.
Yes.
So it was an interesting thing. But what happened was, once upon a time I rushed on Christmas Eve, because I realized, I think, the gift to the 37th person, the 36th, 8th person, wasn't missing, so it was not included in the list. So now I had to rush to a shopping center to go and buy another gift, on instruction of my niece.
Yeah.
Hilda was a fantastic engineer somewhere in UK. So in the course of the confusion, I came back only to discover that my car, I thought, had been taken. The car had not been taken. I'm tying the story short. I basically parked on the wrong floor. Everything else looked the same. So since then I came back home and I said, what is this Christmas rush all about? These things about materialism and nothing else, and 1, 2, 3, and you can see the streets, lucky people going to Mbarara, they face treble traffic jams. Even in Nagongera, I nearly got traffic jams. So we should not get excited that way. You know what I'm trying to say? And then you see jams of motorbikes, you know, people so busy. And it's 1, 2, 3 days. But that's fine. So it's an exciting moment, Christmas time, giving you feedback. But what the Catholic Archbishop of Kampala said at a service in Tinda was something related to something I've written about. That with the Kampala elite, his Christians, these men and women of God, lining up these big cars, including many people in government, as I said, we pour into these churches, places of worship. My argument those days is that then on Monday we go and begin to steal, and then you don't get into services. But his argument is that these people pile into this place and go through traffic lights, and they see these Karamoja Street kids. So my hope is that we've had good Christmas.
Yes, sir.
We've had generally, and people have gone on to do New Year resolutions, but even those who don't do New Year resolutions, people are conscious that we are having a fresh beginning for fresh year. I hope that as we plan as a country and as peoples, as individuals, we should also review our own individual consciences of priorities, and so therefore, hopefully that for those things, in terms of the failures of this NRA regime and the failures and the capacity, the excellent treats that go on, that individually we take responsibility and begin to say that, well, we want to make sure that we make a better contribution to 2025.
Thank you so much. That is Joseph Ochieno. Let me come to you, Charles. And I want us to start on the note of these gangs. I don't know if you've heard of the gangs that are cropping up, especially around musicians, and the acts and everything that is surrounding these particular gangs. The thing is, it feels like they're untouchable, for lack of a better word. What do you think about the effects of these gangs in the country today?
First of all,
Yes, sir.
these gangs have not started today. I think even his former government, UPC, had gangs.
I don't remember. I don't remember any
Let
gang.
him
I don't
facilitate.
remember any gangs under UPC administration.
Let
I
him
don't
tell
remember.
us
But
the
carry on.
gangs. Please, continue. sir.
Two, at least what I have observed under NRA, gangs have not started today. They have been around for a very long time. You remember during General Kalekihura's time in police,
Yes.
gangs were the order of the day. And they are not just unique to Uganda. In Kenya, gangs have been very instrumental in canvassing support for certain candidates, political leaders. Remember there was that Mungiki. So it's not that it's not that musicians of our time are beginning a new trend. No, these things have been around. Chameleon used to move with a gang. Bobby Wine had a gang. All these guys had gangs.
So,
But now we are in a different world. That is what makes a difference. That we have an enlightened population, that does not believe in conducting yourself in that crude manner.
it's no longer fashionable.
It is not. It is not. In fact, you scare off people. You scare off supporters.
Wait, Charles. There is a new alliance that has easily welcomed one of the gang leaders. In fact, it was they were proud of affiliating with that gang leader to an extent of bringing them to their press briefing. If you can remember, I can point out the DA by Honorable Mpuga. They are working with alien skin.
I think that it is strategically to counter Bobby Wine. But you see, alien skin is... I've tried to follow this character from the beginning. There are certain forces that are trying to push him to counterbalance Bobby Wine.
So that means your narrative is wrong. The one that, you have just broken it by saying that means he's relevant and fashionable in a way.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not. He's not coming out. You don't see alien skin coming out strongly to fight Bobby Wine. In fact, most of his supporters are supporters of Bobby Wine. They are not supporters of NRM or these other groups. They actually voted for Bobby Wine. They even canvassed support political support for Bob Wine in the last election.
So that means this gang, this gang leader has value.
I don't think it is that strategy is working. It's not working. Trying to divide the ghetto population politically, I don't think it's really working. Because you see, Mr. Karuhanga, if you've not been in the ghetto, me I've lived in the ghetto for years. I know what is there. I relate with some of these guys in the ghetto. Their needs are the same. So dividing them, this divide and rule can't work. At the end of the day, they suffer from the same challenges. They want to marry, they want to have land, access to land, to have at least a piece of land, have some decent housing, send their children to school. If they can't have those, whatever strategy you put in place to divide them does not work. And that is why I'm saying the state agents who have tried to extort money from Seven in the guise of trying to bring on board these guys, the alien skins and others, to counter Bob Wine, that strategy is not going to work. It can't. It can't. You must be able to attend to the issues that are affecting the ghetto people. They want jobs. They are tired of drugs. They are tired of alcohol. I know some who literally have resorted to alcohol because they cannot feed.
Yeah, they wake up to eat.
They have nowhere to sleep.
Yes, yeah.
So somebody, because it becomes convenient to sleep in a bar, the guy will find himself drinking free alcohol. Those that come in have their kamane and they can buy for him. He survives like that. It's not that this is the lifestyle that these guys want.
But isn't it worrying when they start to join that lifestyle that you think they don't want, but they're actually living it?
Now,
terrorizing
this lifestyle is actually elevating them. To them, and we should be very worried, because very soon it will turn out to be some form of employment. The gangs are not going to end with the musicians. They also shift allegiance to politicians because the contest in this election is going to be very stiff. Now, if I cannot secure security from police and the military, then I have to mobilize these vulnerable young people from the ghettos, and they form my security. You understand?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
So it becomes some form of employment. Now, how are there measures that after these guys have been utilized can be disbanded? Well, where do they go now? So we are likely to see the Kenyan experience here. That
Which Kenyan experience?
That the Mungiki became so powerful that it became an alternative to the state.
Yeah, because that's the thing. The only difference is that these gangs don't have guns yet. Because if you give them guns, they become militias.
It is easy getting the gun. It's not that
that's the worrying part.
It's difficult, but they have not wanted to use guns yet. but it is possible that we can arrive there. Most of these young people have restricted their tactics to body training.
Yes.
Going to the gym,
Yeah.
doing kickboxing and
Yeah,
others.
Exactly.
But should that fail, or should another group want to dominate the other gangs, they will even access the guns, because it's very easy getting a gun here in Kampala.
Okay, Charles,
Yes.
maybe lastly I want you to just comment on what you started on, the issue of UPC having guns. Do you want to break that off, or you want to give us evidence to confirm what you were saying?
Of course, I'll get you the evidence next time I come. But
So
I
which
know,
gangs were there?
I know that UPC had gangs.
No, I think you should withdraw that.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
should withdraw it on.
Either
You should withdraw it on
One-
television
see, let me tell you.
until
Let him
until
first
you
com-
come with
Let
evidence.
him
Yes.
First,
we've
listen
asked
to
him
me.
that question. Let him answer then. Let's
There was that youth group that became a problem to Obote during your time. Do you
Okay,
know
one
why
of
it
the young
became a
people.
problem to Obote?
What youth group?
And he even asked
What youth group? What youth group was that?
the youth wingers of UPC.
Youth
Are
Wing?
youth wingers gangs?
In fact, Obote and the other leaders instructed the disbandment of those youth wingers. Why? Because they had started behaving as a gang,
That's
not as political leaders.
Charles, unfortunately, I'm going to use a strong word. That's actually nonsense.
The case of the chairperson, there was an LC5 chairperson who was given a death sentence, I think, after, I'm forgetting, is he called Mildred? Something like that, I remember the name, and then we shall confirm. He was one of the UPC chairpersons in the district, I think, of Luwero itself, but we shall come back to that. So, what do you think about these gangs? And everybody's going to the ghetto. President Museveni, he has proclaimed he's from the ghetto. What is so special that everyone seeks to affiliate with the ghetto in the political spectrum today?
I think in part is as a result of almost a criminal failure of NRA and this regime, and in part is part of a narrative built by the Musevenis that people, even respectable people like Charles, can buy into in terms of propaganda, which I feel very disappointing about. Political parties will have youth leagues, and political organizations will have wings, can have fringes, whatever. But if they are gangs, I've not seen them in UPC. In fact, I've not yet known of any political party in Uganda in history, and I have reasonable knowledge about this in Uganda, and I'll be very concerned if these things are emerging from emergent political organizations like NUP and others. I'm not saying they are. I'll be very concerned. I have also known political parties around the world with radical leftist groups and sometimes radical rightist groups, but they're not gangs. People can Google what the definition of a gang is.
Yes, sir.
In any case, I know people like Nabudere, were the radical leftists who were pushed out of the party for their radical extremist behaviors and some of their, going against the constitution of the party, but they were not gangs. Actually, gangs are a worry. I am actually quite shocked that we are discussing treats, but we can also talk about gangs in the country, and where Charles is right, that immediately you bring an armed element to this, we shall go towards the direction of the streets of Bogota, in South America. With, those are the extreme stuff, and that's why I'm very definitive about it, because I say this very officially, that it's a serious matter, and I'm actually shocked that Mr. Museveni is sinking our country to this level, where there's even a speculation and the possibility that we'll be doing these things. I think, as I said at the beginning, you guys as Ugandans have been left alone, meaning that Museveni doesn't care what happens to Ugandans in as long as his personal security is guaranteed. And I think it is so extremely selfish that this guy in this late stage of his life seemingly wants to leave Uganda in a messy way, so that some of us may not be able to leave it in any better way position for you guys. Because I think it is incumbent upon men and women of goodwill to recognize that the conversation we're having is far much more serious than that. And in any case, we know that evil only prevails when men and women of goodwill opt to do nothing. That is why, as a new year, I hope that more Ugandans are going to wake up and say no to this NRA dictatorship. I hope more Ugandans are going to wake up and say yes to Uganda People's Congress and the values that we hold. And more Ugandans are going to say yes to other mainstream progressive political parties that have positions and alternative programs that they believe will be able to address the root causes to the problems we face that are leading to this kind of balkanization, possible balkanization of the Republic of Uganda. I happen to have also lived in the ghetto. I know people want to take this thing. I lived in Kamocha. Part of my senior 5 when I left Mwiri was in Kamocha. And so I know the roofy place where I stayed, and I also know the gutters around which I navigated between that and my high school. And they're not particularly decent spaces. But also at the same time, those are the things that inform my politics, partly next to my faith and partly next to the beauty of my parents and responsibility, that I'm completely convinced that politics should be about issues, and those issues should be about basic well-beings of our people, and that if it's about our well-being of our people, then the enemies of the people should be 3: ignorance, poverty, and disease, and that we should focus on that. Now, because we have people in politics, and predominantly not politicians, and in many cases people who are allegedly politicians are not discussing these things, it's not surprising that the political space is being occupied by people who come in to make money and exploit these spaces. I'm not saying that therefore it means and includes artists, but if it is artists and they're doing this kind of things, so be it. But I'm asking, where is government? Where is government?
Police has come out to caution these people. And he said from today, henceforth, you're not going to be allowed to travel with more than 5 people.
I found that interesting, and for me almost a contradiction to my values and beliefs in terms of the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual. I actually thought that possibly for the first time, I want to reluctantly agree with the police on this. But also on the other, I have always said what I promised, or rather what I advised the police headquarters at the time, that, well, maybe the issue is not about moving with people. That the police, if there is an artistic event taking place in Lugogo, police should go ahead and provide security, 1. And then 2, police should use its intelligence to ensure that they're able to mitigate any incident that happens. So if people go into the spaces and break the law, they should be dealt with in accordance with the law. And it's basically that. So it's basically about a deployment of essential resources to police services, because we don't want to play into Museveni's hands. You know, the rule of law must apply. So really, if people opt that they want to have 30 dubious followers, under weed, to rule over an event in Lugogo where my beautiful nieces and fantastic young personal assistants and young UPC members, and indeed young NUP, young citizens of this country, are going to enjoy their music, whatever, those people should be dealt with according to the law.
Yeah, maybe individually, you can hold them.
But that's what I'm trying to say, precisely, and that's what should happen. Number 2, if artists have followers or groups of followers and they're able to be linked with these particular individuals, they should be held accountable. And why I'm taking this conversation seriously is that at the same time too, maybe it's the responsibility of we ordinary Ugandans to put these individuals, interestingly, some of these artists you guys are mentioning, I don't know their names, to be very quite frank. And partly it's because of some of these things, because I really don't find it cool. So maybe some of these artists should face the limelight. And so maybe when they hold their events where people go ahead and weed and make lots of money, maybe some of the events should be boycotted. But maybe we should also have a situation and a case in which artists come up and take a position and make a proclamation in response to what Ochieno is saying. And maybe my dear fantastic young brother, Robert Chagulanyi, who's himself an artist and who rose and is in the political space, should take a position and make a statement on this particular matter. And maybe it's a conversation we need to have as Ugandans, because we don't want our country to degenerate into a mess. But this mess here, the person responsible is Mr. Museveni, because you know what? Many of these people will be some of the things that Charles is talking about. What is it that takes people into the ghettos? You know, under a UPC program, we would have no slums in Kampala. Museveni broke our systems and created 2 classes. In fact, now there are 3 classes. Classes of the top, the Musevenis and a few Asians and a few Bazungu, yeah? And then upper middle class Ugandans, some of them may be thieves and some are others hardworking Ugandans, and then the rest of us, including those in the ghetto, for whom they don't have to really care.
Okay.
Many of those people in the ghettos are people who've dropped out of school thanks to Museveni's criminal apartheid UPE systems. And many of those people out there can't afford a meal. Many of them go down there because they can't afford basic housing,
So
because
what's
they don't
your
have
message
jobs.
maybe to those people? Because whereas they are that...
To which people?
To the people in the ghetto.
People in the ghetto or these young, on these particular individuals?
No, the people in the ghetto themselves, because I want us to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So what advice do you give them, or what message do you have for them? Because it feels like every political cycle, they are always the common denominator.
Beautiful.
So they come back to them every time.
You know, those people in the ghetto are the same as many people in Agongara. In fact, nearly most people in Agongara. The people in the ghetto are the same as many people in Tororo. The people in the ghetto are the same as many people, interestingly, leave the ghetto like they're not alone. These ghetto people are the same, in same position as some people in Zombo. You go across this country and see people living miserably. And the people in the ghetto are the same as people. Within the last 1 month, I was going to refer, a fantastic friend of mine died in a Kampala hospital, and the bill was 16 million Uganda shillings. Died after an operation, but still had to be paid. Thankfully, it's from a reasonably organized family. People may be able to raise this money for that. And in an unlikely event that they did
That's
not,
a lot of money.
the body was simply going to be detained. This is official within the last month, in fact, the month of December. You know, fantastic citizen of this country. How many families can do that? So you guys, including people from such families, time is near. After 40 years, an NRA cannot guarantee basic health care, cannot guarantee basic education, cannot guarantee effective and competitive rents for people. That pushes people down the ghettos and has failed and broken our systems through educational system that makes people fail and have no hope at 16, 17, 18, 19, and they end up themselves in the ghetto. They should dump NRA and go, as I said, return to Uganda People's Congress or begin to have conversations about alternative political parties, because we're discussing 2025 especially. It is extraordinary that you find these people, and many of them go ahead and the other people go ahead and say, Nyongo, no change. You know, that said, the people, whether they're in the ghetto or in Agongara, under no circumstance should we say that violence is the solution. Under no circumstance should we say that dubious groupings that people would call gangs, are the solution. The solution is for people to politically and socially organize. The solution is for people to politically and socially organize. And for many more to watch Digitalk and related programs, have these conversations, make contributions, let leaders emerge from the so-called ghettos. Let leaders emerge from Nagongera who say, no, enough is enough. After 40 years, we want to be able to try something else.
Thank you so much. 13 minutes to the top of the hour of 8. You're still watching the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. In the studios tonight, I have Joseph Ochieno from UPC, and of course Charles Kazooba. He's the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. Charles, still as we conclude this particular issue, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him, that how do you think the young people, especially those people in the ghetto, how can they galvanize and maybe have a common voice? Or how different can it be this time round when the political leaders, the people who want the votes, come to them? And I feel personally they have been used as a stamping ground for just political purposes. Look at the people, the money they've got from circles. You see, it's like they're using the young people in the ghetto. how best can they stand up for themselves?
If you don't mind, for political purposes and also selfish economic purposes, meaning some of these so-called musicians throw a few dime at them, you know, create groups and people follow them, because some of these people would follow them for particular part of what I think is the point Charles would have been developing much earlier. So these people should actually know that they should not be used by individuals, whether in the politics or any other forum setting rather.
You know, when you are associated with this category of the population, that section of the population, I don't think they really have the capacity yet to determine their destiny. Why? And it is very simple. You see, you're dealing with a vulnerable group, people who are looking for survival. Like I've told you, others don't even have what to eat. Others don't even have where to sleep. During COVID, I posed a question to government when they were giving out food relief. I asked, the target for government was households. But what about those that really don't have where to sleep?
And there are many.
Have you asked yourself how, for instance, most of the shops remain secure? It is because these vulnerable people at times are made to sleep in those shops, or they are convinced, they are persuaded that it is better for them rather than sleeping outside. So they have no homes. And I can, in my estimation, I can tell you, at least 200,000 people in Kampala here don't have where to sleep. At least 200,000 people. Now, can those persons decide their future with what is happening today? You have probably a Honorable Mpuga who is willing to give 10,000 to each of them so that they do certain things for him. Will they refuse? Because 10,000 to such a person is good money for a day. You understand? So there's a likelihood that they will not, they can't reject such an offer. I think that is what Bobi Wine has failed to do. Bobi Wine had an advantage of liberating, first of all, the masses in the ghettos. He has instead focused on politicking. By now, this short time he has been around, his focus would have been the ghettos. How to liberate these people from the ghettos by providing guidance. Even Bobi Wine had the capacity to even establish a welfare fund for these people. Because government will not. Government will always want vulnerable people there. But you as an individual who was part of them, it should pain you that your colleagues are not improving in terms of welfare. So if you've moved a step...
How much can he do really? If it's affiliation, even if Museveni is affiliated with the ghetto, he says he's from the ghetto. One would say if
you see that for Museveni it is mockery. It's mocking people who are really having challenges. And I don't like discussing such things. Because this is serious. I know how painful life is for these people. People die while giving, young women, 15, 12, They're impregnated in a bars because they have nothing to do. They die giving birth because they can't even afford the little money in these referral hospitals. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So my expectation was that Bobi Wine should have gone to the drawing board with some of these people and come out with a comprehensive plan of liberating the ghetto people.
So he's not there. What could the ghetto people themselves do?
They need, of course, leadership. They need leadership to start with. They can't do anything without leadership. From amongst themselves, they must have leaders. Unfortunately, every time such people organize themselves, they become a threat to political contenders. If I want to become MP and I see these young people organizing themselves under a certain leadership, then they become a threat in my constituency, and I start fighting them. So that is why it is very, very important that at national level, people who have moved a step higher should provide guidance to our young people in the ghettos.
Yes, sir.
But also, civil society should intervene and focus on these people, not just to go there and do research. You know, we are used to studying these slums. You go and write a report. So many people are suffering. They have no access to water. So what? What is your contribution after doing this research? Can you mobilize some funds? Let me give you an example. You know a guy called Ashbag Kato.
Yes.
And you know what happened to him when he
switched sides.
Yes, he got so embroiled in high-end politics and it crushed him. But if you listened to that guy's plans, his proposals, how he wanted the slums improved.
Yes.
And he was focusing on very basic things.
Exactly.
Lighting, clean and safe water.
Yes.
That if, for instance, you provided lighting for all these slums, do you know, are you aware that Kampala is always dark in the night?
Yes.
And I ask myself, why would a city like Kampala, for instance, be dark? Because if Kampala was lit very well, you would have two sets of the working class. Those that work during the day and those that can work during the night.
Museveni boosts of the night economy.
Now we can't focus on Museveni. Not
No,
me.
I'm trying to say there is a night economy really thriving.
He has his own thinking, but we are now
As you conclude,
seriously looking at how to get our people
Out.
in the ghettos out of this poverty.
Yes, sir.
Ashbag Kato was talking of you providing lighting to slums. That once you provide lighting to slums,
Yes, sir.
you reduce crime. Because crime happens in dark places, dark spots. 2, provide clean water. It reduces diseases. And you are done.
Okay.
Edgar, just quickly.
Let's go for a break.
Okay.
You're going to start on that particular issue. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Let's take a break right about now. When we come back, Honorable Ochieno will be concluding on that issue, and we'll be delving into our focus of discussion this evening. We still have 1 more hour to go. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Let's take a break right about now.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
Go to the church, though.
Tolly man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m., Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
They are almost similar, you know, maybe political or something of they are talking, that's how they talk. Maybe political or something of they are talking, that's how they talk.
When the president says it becomes law.
Let me tell you one
When the president says it becomes law.
Let me tell you one thing. No, it doesn't. There is why it doesn't. You cannot think. No, it doesn't. There is why it doesn't. You cannot amend the constitution by Museveni, the constitution by Museveni's word. You don't. Something which is constitutional, Museveni's word. You don't. Something which is constitutional, You don't just come and talk and then it is, you amend the constitution by Museveni's word. He has, reacting to something that happens very fast. I'm giving you an example. One time, Major, who is based in Lyantonde, her cows were stolen, 60 of them. They were stolen by people and they came and arrested them in Burenga and the rest of them. So they were at police. So Prime 7 just have not done that, then you are, a bond is given to someone because police is arresting people when it is not ready.
Without evidence.
There's no evidence, and you cannot produce it somebody in court without evidence. You know what President Museveni has to know is that when a person is arrested, there is in the villages they are not giving. Okay, again now you are coming up and saying no bond. No, this you are no bond. No, this you are abrogating the constitution. Actually, if Ugandans were
to build for you guys, and now Museveni has sold it to dubious people after stealing all the money. So it's official. NRA lawyers,